Hey guys, Joey here with another episode of Pokemon Corner. Last week we covered the water bug type Golisopod. This week we're going to be covering, again, a bug water type that was introduced in 7th generation. The counterpart to Golisopod is actually Araquanid. So, like Golisopod, Araquanid comes with the resistances to water, ice, fighting, ground, and steel while being weak to electric, flying, and rock. Now, the stat pool for Araquanid doesn't exactly meet the stat pool of Golisopod, as it comes with 68 HP, 70 attack, 92 defense, 50 special attack, 132 special defense, and 42 speed. That 42 speed kind of puts it in a really weird land of the 40 to 60 speed base, kind of like a limbo. You're kind of too fast to really utilize Trick Room, but you're definitely way too slow. Because even with the beneficial nature and maxed out speed EVs, you're only going to be reaching 201 speed with a minimum of 183. It's kind of you pick your poison there because you can be really slow but not slow enough, but just kind of fast. And even with like a choice scarf, it only reaches 350, which is still as fast as Jolteon. Obviously, Jolteon's going to take Araquanid out with a Thunderbolt, but yeah, so with that said, with its weird speed, it actually ends up being in a UU tier early on anyway. Again, these tiers are subject to change prior to VGC, and it probably will greatly, but for now, Araquanid is resting in the UU tier. It does come with some pretty awesome abilities. Its hidden ability is actually Water Absorb, which means that if you hit with a Water type move, you will restore up to 1/4 of your maximum HP. But the real mainstay and the real, prime time ability is actually his regular ability, which is called Water Bubble, which is actually kind of like a fusion of Adaptability, Water Veil, and half of Thick Fat, because it increases water move damage by 100% before stab. It also makes you immune to burn, and it decreases fire damage by 50%. So this actually gives it another added resistance to fire, which is something that Araquanid doesn't have. Golisopod does not have. So let's look at some notable physical type moves to go with your 70 base 70 base attack, which caps out at 262 with a beneficial nature and maximum investment. So you have Bug Bite, which is a 60 base, 90 after stab, and steals a berry. You get Crunch, you get Facade, Return, as well as Frustration. You get Leech Life, which restores 50% of the damage dealt, and that's 120 after stab. You get Liquidation, which is a water-based move, which means it's affected by Water Bubble, which means that with Water Bubble and Stab, it effectively triples this move, which brings up to 255 base, and it also has 20% chance to lower the target's defense. Ridiculous damage output. You also have access to Lunge, which is 80% base, 120 after Stab, and lowers the target's attack on stage. You have Poison Jab, which is 80 base, but it really helps you deal Fairy types as well as Walls, because it has a 30% chance to cause Poison. You have Waterfall, which after Water Bubble and Stab, you go up to 240 base, and it has a 20% chance to flinch. And you finally have X-Scissor, which nobody uses anymore. Notable special attack moves go with your 50 base special attack, which is actually way lower, but still it adds in a nice surprise. You have Blizzard, you have Frost Breath, which is a 60 base attack, ice type, and it has the effect of always being a critical hit. Really good for walls who wanted to set up on you and have defense ups and special defense ups. Then you have access to the lesser strength Blizzard, more accurate Blizzard, Ice Beam. The base damage between Blizzard and Ice Beam really isn't too much of a difference between 90 base and 110 base, but you have, the 100% accuracy on Ice Beam compared to the 70% accuracy on Blizzard, and both come with a 10% chance to freeze. Finally, you have Scald. Well, not finally, but next up, you have Scald, which is affected by Water Bubble and Stab, so it brings it to 240 as well, like Waterfall, and has a 30% chance to burn, which is really nice. Then you have Surf, which is 270 base after Water Bubble and Stab. The damage between 270 and 240 is actually really noticeable. For some reason, it just, even though it seems like such a small increment of only having 30 base power, it seems ridiculous to even be up in 240 and 270, because 270 at that point is actually higher than an Explosion. But at 270, it really does pack quite a punch. And this can be also further paired with like Choice Specs or Water Gem if it ever comes out, and Life Orb. Then you finally have Infestation, which is a 20 base, 30 after stab, and traps causing damage for 4 to 5 turns. So, Next, we have notable support moves, which we have Mirror Coat, which I know this is a special attack move, but I always consider it as a support move because it's kind of like nichey, and it can only do damage if you take a special attack yourself, which then you return that damage double. You have Aqua Ring, which pairs nicely with leftovers as it restores 1/16 of your max health every turn. You have Attract, which will leave a Pokemon of the opposite gender immobilized by love 50% of the time. Then you have Power Split, which is interesting because it averages the attack and special attack of you with your target, and it does ignore stat changes. You have Protect for scouting, as well as getting some health back. Rain Dance, which will further weaken fire types and power up water types even more. Not really necessary on Araquanid, but I mean, might as well pack the hardest punch as possible, huh? Then you got Reflect, which reduces damage received by physical attacks by 50%. You got Soak, which changes your opponent into a water type. Then you have Spiderweb, which traps, kind of, obsolete thanks to Infestation. You have Stockpile, which pairs really nice with Normalium Z, gives you Z Stockpile, which will raise your defense and special defense one time as well as fully heal you. Just keep in mind that Stockpile can only be used 3 times, which means you can only get 3 stages of defense and special defense boost, which was actually 2.5 times, which is still nothing to laugh at. And with Z Stockpile, you could actually run like Stockpile, Z Stockpile, Stockpile, or Stockpile, Stockpile, Z Stockpile combo to get your defenses up and fully healed. Then you have Substitute, then you have Water Sport, which will even further lower fire damage, Wide Guard, as well as Toxic. So now let's get into some possible sets that Araquanid can use, that I would personally use on Araquanid, and I do use on my Araquanids while using them in like competitive battle scenes. So one possible set I call it a Double Bubble Trouble, which is a Choice Band or Life Orb set using max attack and max special defense. You're going to be running Lunge or Leech Life. The choice is yours. Do you want to like help yourself and have more defensive prowess by lowering an attacker's stats one stage by using Lunge, or do you want to have a little bit of longevity using Leech Life? Lunge is a little bit stronger just because it does bring down your opponent's attack stage 1, and it almost will force a swap if you get it down too far. And Leech Life will just add to longevity, which you're really not too concerned about on this set. Then you have Liquidation, which is your really hard packing move. It also comes with a chance to lower your opponent's defense, so you can really cripple with Lunge and Liquidation if you get lucky. Then you have Poison Jab for coverage against fairies, and then you have Crunch as well. Poison Jab actually also helps with walls paired with Liquidation because you get them Toxic, and then you could also get their defense drop, and that always really helps. Next, you have Mixed Stab Sweeper, which is a Life Orb or Expert Belt set. You could even run a choice item on this set, like Choice Scarf, but I just don't recommend it. So this one's going to be a mixed special attack. You can run Scald or Surf. Surf is going to be the stronger attack, but Scald's going to have the 30% chance to burn. Then you have Liquidation, which is going to be a physical water attack, and that's just going to cause lots of damage. And again, it comes with a 20% chance to lower defense. Next, you have Ice Beam. Unfortunately for Araquanid, it does not get a stab special attack bug move. It doesn't get Bug Buzz or anything like that, so it really can't take advantage. So it has to go with Ice Beam. That's its best option when it comes to doing damage on a special side. You could also run Infestation here, but I want to save your bug moves for something that's really helpful. You don't really want to get things trapped in on this set because you're not as bulky as you would normally be, especially since you're running max attack and max special attack. So you don't really want to trap things in, especially if they have something that can kill you. It's risky because like someone could switch in a Pokemon that they plan to sweep on you, and then you can't really do much about it. Besides swapping it yourself, of course. And then finally, the last move again is a choice between Leech Life and Lunge. You notice there's no X Scissors because X Scissors is kind of obsolete in Sun and Moon. They need to like introduce an item or an ability that does something to help out moves that don't have an additional effect, like X Scissor. Maybe like an ability that like moves with no additional effect are powered up 1.5 times or something like that. Or an item that will give a move with no additional effect an effect. Like maybe a better King's Rock. I don't know. But then the final set is a bulky support set, which is max defense and max special defense. So you have one set with both attacks, and you have one set with both defenses. Sorry, I had a hiccup there. Then you have Toxic Infestation. So this would say you do want to trap them in. You're going to go for the Infestation to cause residual damage every turn. Toxic score even more residual damage. Then you have Stockpile to boost your defense as well as Normalium Z to fully heal yourself. And then you have Scald, which is just going to be your damaging move. And it still does pack quite a punch coming from your lesser attack without any investment in it thanks to its 240 base power. And again, this also has a chance to burn, so it will ruin, physical attackers or walls that you have not hit with Toxic, and Infestation will be there to trap them in. So overall, Araquanid is a Pokemon that has a great design, and on paper it looks like it could be really good. It looks like it could be like a bulky destroyer, and it has huge potential to be a sweeper thanks to its strong stab water attacks, but the bug typing doesn't really help it out here, especially on the special side. So being a bug type actually adds in a few more weaknesses. Without the bug type, you'd only be weak to electric and grass. And I know like the bug kind of drops that grass type weakness, but you also add weaknesses to flying, which really sucks, as well as rock, which is one of the most commonly used moves in the game, thanks to like things like Rock Slide or Stone Edge. So that's kind of a hard thing to counterbalance, and that's all thanks to the bug type, which doesn't really add much offensively. But so Araquanid is going to struggle, and even with something that like you could use Aqua Ring or leftovers with Aqua Ring, it's going to be hard for you to really keep yourself on the field without a lot of support. You can use something like a Curse Passer like Pyukumuku to help Araquanid, because it does lower his speed using Curse, which means that you could actually pair it up with a Trick Room user as well. And that will, get it out of that limbo, give it an attack boost, give it a defense boost, and really help it out. Overall, Araquanid is solid, and with proper utilization, it could be a really potent threat. But as for now, it doesn't really look like it would be an uber sweeper. It doesn't look like it's going to have any mainstay in the battle besides being in UU and being dominant in UU, I think. It's a great Pokemon. It's just missing a little bit here and there, and that it all adds up to making it look like a more average Pokemon than it does just by like, wow, this is an amazing ability, one of the best in the game. Well, it has access to a lot of attacks, and it has an awesome design and an awesome shiny as well. But, those pros don't really outweigh the cons in terms of Araquanid, and it's unfortunate because it doesn't get like the priority moves that Golisopod gets, and it really can't run much item-wise besides something like leftovers or a life orb. So with that said, Araquanid solid, just not solid enough. I'm Joe from Big Shark Gaming. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you comment down below what Pokemon you want me to do next week and any sets that you use in your Araquanid. Do you agree with my opinion on Araquanid? Do you think it's the most solid Pokemon in the game? Do you think that it's worse than what I'm saying it is? But I want to thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week for another Pokemon Corner. I'll see you next time.